Hey guys, Andy back here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you a slightly different painting tutorial. This time we're going to be working on one of the absolutely fantastic McFarlane Toys Artist Proof Warhammer figurines. That is a mouthful, that is a lot of words, and what do those words mean? So McFarlane Toys partnered up with Games Workshop to bring out a series of action figures for Games Workshop, and they decided, quite cleverly I feel, to do a line of artist proof ones as well, which means these ones come unpainted, which gives us, the hobbyists, the opportunity to paint these guys up how we would like them to be, and have them on our shelves, kind of matching our armies and stuff like that. In this week's video, I decided to tackle the biggest one they've brought out so far, which is the artist proof Ork Meganob. It's a seriously big piece. It's really weighty, it's got a lot of weight to it. And yeah, I basically spent the week pulling this thing apart, getting it cleaned up as much as I can. Did have some quite horrific mold lines, and attacking them with some hobby tools was quite a scary thing to do, but we got there in the end. We got it cleaned up and we got it painted up. Originally this was going to be Wednesday's video, but after I had the head in my hand, it had so much detail, I had to do a separate video on just painting up the amazing face that came with this kit. So I decided to do an orc skin painting video based just around the fantastic head that came with this miniature. So that will basically be part one of this video. So if you haven't watched that, make sure you do go back and watch that to find out all the information you need to get the head painted up. So yeah, stick around to the end of the video and enjoy. Okay guys, so this is the gigantic miniature, all pulled apart and prepped for painting. So I managed to pull off his arms, his head, his big jaw plate, his huge big basically engine on the back of him. I got those all sprayed up separately using my traditional spray black and zenith gray. I'll put a link in the video at this point to show you guys how I do the spraying for most of my miniatures. And this is the orc head that I painted in midweek video. So if you want to go back and see how I did that, there will also be a link in the video now. So to get started, we're going to work on the armor first, and the first coat of paint we're going to use is Rhinox Hide. And this is going to put down a lovely base coat for rusting up the armor and basically getting the weathering done on all of these gnarly old panels before we go and start adding in some color. So all you're going to want to do is take your time, get a large brush. I've used a large flat or medium flat dry brush here. And I'm basically just stabbing it into all the nooks and crannies. I don't want to miss any bits. I don't leave any bits with that white glaring through. And once you've finished this stage, we should look something like this. I'm not going to lie, getting all of the brown done on this model took longer than I thought. My brain is programmed to think of how long it takes to paint one miniature. My brain just thought this counted as one miniature when in fact it's basically Stompa sized. So the next thing we're going to do is move on to some Ryza Rust. And we are going to start the stippling process across all of those parts that we did the Rhinox Hide to. So I treat stippling the same way that I treat dry brushing. So I think less is more, and just build up until you're happy with the amount of rust on. Don't overload the brush at the start and end up with these big blotches that you don't like. So obviously I got to this point that I was like, oh, it's nice, but it's not heavy enough. So I added a little bit more orange. And then I went at it again, just add a little bit more color, which is what I wanted to go for. So I'm going to follow this through on all of the rust parts. Those include, I'm painting up the arms and stuff alongside him at the same time. And this is all of the stippled Ryza Rust on. As you can see, these are the parts that I'm working on separately. Next thing we're going to do is jump over to some Leadbelcher paint and give all of the same areas again a quick dry brush of the Leadbelcher paint. This is just to catch all the raised areas, anywhere where the old rusted metal would be getting scraped and stuff, which would reveal the shiny silver underneath once again. It's just such a nice technique. I've shown something very similar to this on previous videos before. I just love the result for such a little amount of invested time and invested effort. I mean, it's fairly mindless painting this. So if you ever need to do it across a large group of miniatures or across terrain or something like that, it's fantastic.
sit there and watch TV or whatever while bashing away at this.
Okay guys, we've managed to get all of the rust done across the entire armoured miniature, which makes up about 80% of the painting process, to be honest. We just have to add a little bit of colour in to the armour, and you can, at home, you could choose to change that colour up if you wanted to. You could do Evil Suns, or you could do Flash Kits, or you could do whatever you want, just by changing up the next step colour. I thought I'd take this opportunity to thank you guys for watching my videos, showing me the support that you do. If you do enjoy this video, make sure that you hit the like button, drop a comment below if you have any questions, and make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. If you enjoy what I do a lot and you want to support me even more, there's a number of ways in which you can do that. Via Patreon is the most prevalent one, but we now have access to the YouTube membership, which you can just click on a link just below here to get involved in. So thank you guys very much, and let's get back to painting.
Okay, now with all of that rust done, it is time to now move on and add some colour. So I'm going to be adding red to mine, so I'm going to start with some Mephiston Red paint. And I'm now going to paint over the panels that I want to be red, which are most of the flat panels across the miniature. Don't worry, we haven't wasted all of the previous time. We're not going to paint over every little bit of the beautiful rust that we've just done. We are basically just going to almost feather in the red paint. We're going to leave large sections of the rust showing through, and then we will go back and do another light dry brush to the silver after all of the flat colors are on, just to once again reintroduce that fresh scratched look. At this stage I know it can look like we are painting over everything again, but we are not, trust me. Just follow the process, feather it in, and obviously use personal judgment on which panels you want to actually add color to. When I started doing the red process, I wasn't 100% sure which panels were going to get the red treatment and which weren't. I just went for the ones that I thought suited it best. I left some panels entirely rust, like his big boots. I didn't bother doing the lowest parts of those boots with the red. I liked the wrecked up rust look. So, and here is all of the red applied. You can see we did, of course, leave a lot of the rust behind, a lot of scratching and stuff like that. Hopefully this has put some of your minds to ease. We're now going to move on to Abaddon Black, and this is once again for that middle panel with the orc skull. We're going to do the panel that's behind the orc skull in the black. Exactly the same process as we used for doing the red armor. It's more of a feathering technique. We want to leave large sections of the rust still there. This just introduces the idea that this originally was, you know, spray painted a beautiful color for the orc, but of course orcs don't take care of their equipment or armor, so it's been heavily beaten and bashed over the years of fighting. Or for all you know, with an orc, he had it freshly painted 2 days ago, and this is the state of it in a short period of time. So there's the black panel done. Now we're going to go in with Ulthuan Grey, and we're going to do the actual skull and the teeth motif on his belt buckle. This is quite a fun stage, starting to actually add all of the colour into the model. As cool as the rust looks, it's quite a dull looking colour. It won't look as nice on your shelf, which is where this thing is going to go. It's going to go into my display shelf behind me. So that light feathering technique, leaving behind lots of the silver and rust. And this is the armor panels with all the color added. I already think that looks absolutely amazing. But we will go back in with silver, like I said previously, and give it another light dry brush just to once again introduce those extra scratches along all the seams and edges. It's a fairly quick step. We're not going as heavy as we did last time, but it definitely adds the beaten metal look to the piece. This is actually the last step on painting up the red armor panels. And there you have it. That's what I think an orc's armor would look like after a very short period of time. We're now going to throw a couple of other quick colors over the miniature. So we're going to throw Skeleton Horde over his kind of burlap sack pants that he's wearing. I'm not going to put too much effort into these, literally one coat of Skeleton Horde across them. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm not bothered doing layering and stuff like that. This is by no means one of the focal points of the miniature. if you're looking at this miniature on a shelf or this figurine on a shelf, his pants are not something that you're going to be focusing on. It's going to be the beautiful armor and the amazing face on the model that you're going to be paying attention to. So I just threw a quick coat of paint over the legs and left it at that. Now it's time to move on to the skin. So like I said, I focused on the skin and did an in-depth video on the skin in the face video for this. So like I said, if you have not seen that video, I will throw another link up right here so you guys can go and check that out. But it's exactly the same process. I'm just not going to go as in depth to it in this video. So we threw Plaguebearer Flesh over all of the skin. While that's drying, we used black Templar contrast, and we're going to use that for all of the piping across the entire miniature. I'm also watching this little clip here. You can see that I did the same parts of the armor that I did for the large bit that I showed you guys. So you can see some of the black, some of the white, some of the red across all the other panels, just to break up all that rust. I think it looks particularly good across the weapon itself. So yeah, black Templar contrast across all of the piping. There's piping going kind of around the back of his ribs from his power pack to the front of him. So obviously get those cables done as well. Okay, now that the Plaguebearer Flesh has dried, we're going to go back in and we're going to use Warboss Green. And this piece of skin in particular kind of sits behind the helmeted head. It's not something people are going to be paying attention to, but I still wanted to add the color in. So just following any of the kind of raised areas that you can find. Not needing to be too particularly careful here. And then after that Warboss has grown, we're going to go in for Skarsnik Green and do exactly the same thing again, but just slightly lighter. Now I'm showing you this tiny part behind the head, but obviously we did his entire back. All of the skin bits that are showing on his arms, all of those in exactly the same three-stage process across all of the skin. And with that, it pretty much brings an end to painting this miniature. We go from here to the fully assembled beast that is now sitting on my shelves behind me. I am delighted with how this turned out. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please let me know. I do have multiple other Artist Proof McFarlane miniatures that I'm not sure whether you guys want to see a video for. So if you do, drop a comment below and let me know. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you in the next video.